Lake Titicaca. Lake Titicaca.
All right. This is Jersey Hobby Hour. It is April 28th, 2016. It has been an extremely long time since we actually did an official broadcast. But here we are at it again, and on a different day, but at the usual time. So joining me is Alan Wan.
Hi.
And you all know me, Steve Chin, your regular fun host who basically talks to the airwaves. But you know what? We must be doing something right with we must be doing something right with this broadcasting stuff because we're getting dislikes on YouTube. And you know you're doing something right when people hate you.
We can go through. Now I thought of a topic we could talk about in a bit. Let's go.
All right, so this is a show where Alan and I, and possibly some other friends of ours, basically get together and give our opinions on random weird stuff, catch up about stuff that's going on in our lives. But we also cover gaming news, movie news, entertainment, that type of stuff, tech news, here and there when we can. This episode is just going to be me and Alan catching up and shooting the shit, so to speak. Shooting the breeze, because we just haven't had one of these in a while, and it's there's been a lot of stuff that's happened since in terms of entertainment and things like that. So
isn't this what we do during the day from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock and get paid for? Instead, we're doing this for free.
Well, I don't see you at work. Now, Alan and I do happen to work at the same place.
You don't need to know that.
Whatever.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, the first thing that I wanted to talk about, and I already prompted Alan about this, was Daredevil Season 2 came out since our last official broadcast. And wanted to just go over that. And it's something that Alan and I haven't really actually discussed at any length in person. So it's a good place to start for us to pick up the conversation. What was the big problems that you had with Daredevil Season 2, and what did you really love about it?
Let's see. The problem I had with Daredevil Season 2. Let me think. I thought a little bit with are we going through spoilers? Yes or no?
Yes. I mean, we're having a conversation like we would.
For me, the most the only thing one of the things I really didn't like was basically the reveal of the main villain for Punisher, where basically if you haven't watched Daredevil, the Punisher, he loses his family as in the comic books, and then basically he goes through the part of the series trying to figure, part of the season to figure out who's this person, and he eventually felt like the main villain for him was kind of like strung together. It was kind of stupid. It was the general basically who was testified for his character saying how he's a good man, and then out of nowhere he turns to 360 and says, "Hey, I'm the bad guy." I felt lazy, haphazard. It felt stupid to me. I don't know. What I loved about it, everything else about the Punisher besides that. Basically, episode 3 and episode 3, basically the first 4 episodes were amazing to me. Because you figured, like, you knew they were teasing Daredevil versus Punisher, and you thought like, oh, okay, they're gonna be like I don't watch any of these, but like Game of Thrones and Walking Dead, where I hear a lot of the complaints is that they drag on their seasons, where basically they do fillers and do all this stuff, and people complain about it. It's like, well, let's get to the meat. But for this, we see in the first episode, we see Daredevil and Punisher fighting right off the bat.
So I think that's one of the advantages of having something that's like a paid-for service do a show. I mean, you see this with Game of Thrones. You see this with all the other Netflix original series. They're all 13-episode seasons, right? So that they're much more condensed than, let's say, a regular run on TV, which would generally have, upwards of 20 episodes, 26 episodes. I think there's definitely a advantage in that sense to the viewer because you get this really dense, compact sort of storyline, and you don't have these long, drawn-out story arcs. But I was a little bit I was a little bit like thrown off that they threw so much at you all at once, because I mean, in I think the third episode or something like that, that the Punisher storyline finishes up and rolls directly into Elektra.
Episode 4, by the way. Episode 4.
Whatever.
And then at the end of episode 4, you see Elektra, basically.
But like, so like, does this guy get any sleep? Like, he literally like shakes off one problem.
Like Jack Bauer. Like Jack Bauer. He doesn't shit. Like, 24 hours. He don't shit. He don't go to the bathroom. He doesn't take a shower.
Like, how much bad stuff can happen to one person? I mean, I know it's the Marvel universe and it's, you know, a fictional universe, so this type of stuff happens all the time. But like, really, like Punisher didn't even finish that job yet, and Elektra shows up, and then like the whole problem with Elektra rolls into this thing with the hand, and you get Stick, who comes back in the middle of the season. Like, I felt like too many things happened all at once. And this is contrary to what I just said about getting a lot of storyline and completing storylines all, you know, in a nice little tight package that's 13 episodes. But like, it just seemed like it was too abrupt of transitions from one thing to the next. Like there were like subtle cues to things showing up in the season, but to me it just felt like it was like, we want to throw more content at you. Bam, here it is. Like they could have done with an entire season with just the Punisher and had a fantastic time with it, and maybe included some Elektra and then had her roll into the next season, and included the hand with all that. I don't know. I felt like, what am I supposed to expect from next season? And I felt the same way when I watched the first season of Daredevil, when he finished up the storyline with Kingpin, and it was just like, well, what am I getting next? And then you find out, oh, the Punisher in the down season, right? But I like cliffhanger season finales. I want a reason to come back and watch the show. I don't want to say, hey, this 13 episode package was something that could stand alone, and I don't need to watch any more Daredevil. I like the show as a whole, and especially since it partakes in the MCU.
I do agree that they throw too much stuff with you, but I disagree where there's nothing, you don't feel like going back. There's a lot of questions that still need to be answered. Why is there that big ass hole in the middle of Midtown New York, right? Midtown Manhattan. There's this big hole. What about Elektra? Spoiler alert, Elektra dies, and then the hand redigs her body up, and they put her in that little thing. What's up with all that creepy blood with all those exorcist kids, basically, right? So the thing is that I agree that they did throw too much at you, but I felt that they kind of segmented it a certain way, where the first couple episodes they introduced this Punisher, and then they went to the whole Elektra thing, and then they did the trial Punisher. Yes, there's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, it is 13 episodes, and maybe that's also something great about the series, is that they're juggling, they're trying to give this content to you. There's just so much stuff they're going for you. This world is really rich. Because here's the thing: the first season, you get these characters, you develop these characters, so we care about them, right? So we kind of want to see where they're going. And then, of course, they introduce two huge characters. They introduce Elektra, they introduce Punisher, two characters that could have their own franchise, basically. I mean, Punisher and Elektra had their own movies, not very good movies, but they had their movies, right? So, you know, the thing is that they're also gonna have this huge Avengers kind of series between all the Netflix characters called The Defenders. So we don't even know when we're going to get Daredevil season 3, because they're going to film the Defenders series, which is Jessica Jones, not Johnny Karate. That's from Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, and Daredevil, and they're going to be in a Netflix series together. They're going to film that at the end of this year, and then they'll probably release it sometime next year, or like at the end of next year. So I think that's they're going for the long game.
I feel like the crossover was kind of like due in this season of Daredevil, though. And I mean, they do a little bit of talking about, you know, Jessica Jones, like
Easter eggs here and there.
Yeah, but like I feel like
Moss.
the city is too like, it's too small for like superheroes and stuff.
Listen, Hell's Kitchen is only a couple of blocks. This is my city. Calm down there. Hell's Kitchen is only a few blocks. It's not the whole city. I just hate that's the another thing that bothers me. They make Hell's Kitchen believe like it's New York City. No, it's not. Well, I need to defend my city. You're defending a corner, dude. Chill the fuck out.
I don't know. I really liked Daredevil season 2. I liked Daredevil season 1. There's just something about it where the scale up beyond Kingpin was, I don't know. It just felt so abrupt and like too big for Daredevil. And yeah, they brought Punisher in, and they're sort of cooperating, but not. Like I wanted to see more crossover with other Netflix series or other low-level MCU Netflix series like Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, just because you should be able to do a lot more of that, because you have, B-rate actors who you aren't paying as much as you are in the movie universes. So, like, why would you restrict yourself and not have as much crossover? But I mean, you're telling me there's a whole series coming, so. But like,
oh yeah, they're saving it. That's why. It's just like when they were built. It's, if you think about it, it's like building the MCU when they had standalone Iron Man movies, Thor movie, and then they had Avengers movie. Basically, they're saving their nut for that release. I mean, granted, they're not. It's through Netflix. It's not they're making a movie, full feature movie where they're selling tickets, but they're making this also an event for you to watch. I mean, granted, look, during this year when they had Fuller House out, you know how many people watch Fuller House, even though people made fun of that show, even though people who reviewed the show saying that it was basically porn, but without the porn.
I watched the entire first season, and I was like, man, this is like watching like growing up watching Full House.
Exactly.
Except just jokes, modernized.
Yeah,
but yeah, and the jokes were very like
cringeworthy
and stuff like that. But you know what? There were a lot of jokes growing up as a kid in a lot of TV shows that we watched that we just didn't get. And if you went back and you watched them now, you'd be like, oh.
Yeah. Well, going back to Daredevil, I love season 2. I don't know if I loved it more than season 1. I love season 2. I think going back to like one of my favorite things, episode 4 specifically, basically, well, episode 3 and 4. Episode 3 is especially when they were trying to recapture the same magic they did in Daredevil season 1 with the whole hallway scene. That one shot where they shot from episode 3 of this season, where he was fighting down the stairs. He was protecting the Punisher. He was beating up all those bikers. Fantastic scene. And also the part where when they're in the graveyard at the end of season episode 4, where Punisher's explaining to Daredevil why he's doing this, where you feel this emotion towards him, this connection with him, like you sympathize with him, where basically like he's holding his daughter and he's holding his daughter. He's looking at the face. He's looking at the hole where his daughter's face used to be, and there's meat coming out of it. I mean, how like terrible is that? Like, it's just like.
I think the realization and the connection that was there was actually built in the earlier episodes where Daredevil is captured on the rooftop and they're talking. Oh yeah.
That was the same episode. I think that was episode 3 too. I think that was when he shot the fuckface dude, the guy who he was trying to protect.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think a lot of the connection that you have between the two characters happens right there. And it's just kind of, I don't know if it climaxes more so than it just kind of like, he has an emotional breakdown and just decides to like.
I just thought that scene overall was just so well done. I mean, it just really brought his character. It just really made John Bartholomew. I mean, I'm not familiar with his work, but it just made me believe that he was the Punisher in terms of like the torture soul that he is. I mean, you saw the badassery that he was doing, but like, you understand his like him. If you were to never watch the comic, you never read the comics and you never knew about him, you understood why he was doing what he was doing. Like my fiance was able to understand like, hey, this is why he's doing what he's doing. But she doesn't know anything about the Punisher.
I actually like grew up not knowing a whole lot about the Punisher and just knew that he was all about like guns and killing people.
He was on the animated Spider-Man, dude.
I always understood him as like a bad guy and not really a hero growing up.
Anti-hero. And well, yeah, we didn't really see anti-heroes that much. We thought like sometimes I thought it was like bad and good. I didn't never saw people as anti-heroes, to be honest with you.
Right. Like it was kind of strange as a kid to kind of conceptualize that there are people who are in the gray area, and in fact, everyone's in the gray area, even all the heroes and all the villains.
Oh yeah. So we're gonna talk about that movie basically that came out. Is she with you? Is she with you?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So I mean,
we'll go one.
Batman versus Superman. All right. So we'll transition here away from Daredevil.
Overall feelings. We both liked it. Daredevil season 2. So
yeah, good.
We had no problem.
Watch the series on Netflix if you have Netflix. Yeah, definitely worth it. Even though you're going to pay more money for Netflix now because they raised the price.
Pay. I use someone else's. Oh, whoops. Whoops. Thanks, Tristan. I love you.
Before we transition though, John Bernthal, Carlos in How I Met Your Mother, like the first episode.
Oh wait, really? No, he's not.
Yeah, it's like the first episode, like when he's throwing the parties.
Oh,
Robin. And then like he asks somebody like, "Oh, who are you here with?" Like, "Oh, I'm here with Carlos."
Not the first episode. It's like the second or third episode where he's like throwing the parties every day during that weekend. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna have a party this weekend."
Right, but
like I think
like somebody shows up and like he's like, "I don't even know you. Who are you here with?" "Oh, I'm here with Carlos." And then like he walks out. He's like, "Oh,
hey, that's the fucking Punisher." All right, good to know. I didn't know that. Good tidbit.
Small little Easter egg.
Yeah.
And then of course Walking Dead. And that's where most of his fame comes from, right?
Yeah.
All right. Batman versus Superman. We discussed this at length in person directly after seeing the movie, and then even in the weeks after. This will probably go quick because we already know what we're pretty much going to say.
Or not go quick.
I like the movie. I think there was a lot of merit to it. Now, I did not see Man of Steel, which is apparently a direct precursor to this movie, and like sets the stage for this movie.
Tell them how you felt when you saw the beginning of the movie for BBS. How'd you felt?
Oh, what do you mean by that?
You're like, shit, I should have watched the prequel.
Oh, well, so I mean, me being like, a fan of a lot of different things in general, I like having a better picture of whatever I'm going to watch. So I like having some backstory or like whatever precursor, like TV shows. Like I'm watching Jessica Jones now to catch up before Civil War, which isn't next week.
Here's the thing. Those things you don't need to see Jessica Jones to watch
I don't.
That.
But I mean, it's still
just to let you know.
To me, it's like part of like the canon that everyone has access to readily. Like of course there's comic books and stuff like that you could read, and they're all part of the universe and stuff. But like the stuff that
the MCU, knows, sir.
The stuff that everyone knows, like that's what I want to have access to. So the Man of Steel movie, I really felt like there's a sequence in the beginning of Batman versus Superman where Batman's watching like Wayne Towers like get blown up because of what Superman's doing in.
By the way, how stupid is it that it takes Bruce Wayne to call them, hey, get the hell out of the building, when they see an alien, like this spaceship in the middle of the sky. They're like, we should still work. Well, about those financials from 2015, we need to make sure that we forecast that 2016 is better than this year. I don't know. I thought that was a little silly.
I mean, the other thing too is like,
I know. I'm just being an idiot. That's all.
Bruce Wayne shows up in Metropolis because something's going on. Apparently across the bay, because in this movie you could see Gotham City from
they're across the thing. So it's like basically from New York to Brooklyn. It's like across the street. Because Metropolis has always been New York City, and then Gotham has always been Chicago. That's how it is in the comic books. I'm sorry, that's a sweaty, but they decided to go with they're across the bay. Okay. Sorry, continue. Sorry, I had to let out a little.
But I mean, I really enjoyed the movie as a whole. I really liked the portrayals of both Superman and Batman. Now, I kind of wanted to see Man of Steel to get a better picture of Superman's, mentality and sort of his persona. But I definitely like Batman in this movie. They did a really good job with trying to explain the essence of what Batman is and extend that out into like old age. It's like you have feelings and certain predilections as a youngster, and a lot of those will carry on through your life, right? And like that's very very clear here with like a superhero. So like it gets you to think about like other superheroes that you might have like idolized. Like, well, what would Wolverine, Old Man Logan, things like that. Well, how does that pan out when he gets really old? How does Tony Stark, what does he do when he gets really old? Now, I say really old, it's really just apparently been 20 years in Batman.
When they hit their 40s, or late 50s, or late 40s and early 50s.
It's really interesting just to see how the mentality like drifts away from center. Like you still have the same core, but like, the lines become blurred and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the storylines in the movie, outside of like, hey, here's Batman and here's Superman, and like they're really cool, like what's going on with them. I felt like it was very convoluted. There was a lot of extra storyline that didn't need to be there. It was very clearly a second Superman movie than really a Batman versus Superman movie, and if not a second Superman movie, sort of a way to roll into Justice League. I mean, there was a lot of buildup for playing Batman against Superman, but I say this all the time to people who like think that a Batman versus Superman fight is going to be awesome. It's not, because either Batman has kryptonite and he wins and he beats the hell out of Superman, or Batman doesn't have any kryptonite and Superman just pokes him in the chest and kills him. There's not a fight. There can't possibly be a fight between these two. And you got maybe 10 minutes of them two fighting.
Not even.
It was really just silly. Really. Like the things that they did to each other were just silly. And they were no different really than any two other people fighting, except that apparently Batman has kryptonite gas because he smashed a bunch of kryptonite and put it in grenades. I don't know. A lot of the other storylines with Lois Lane and Lex Luthor, there was no real need to throw those in, especially since the primary bad guy apparently is this Kryptonian monster that comes out of the ship that they have apparently just sitting in the middle of Metropolis.
Well, no, it happened. Yeah, you see that ship crash at the end of Man of Steel. But continue. Sorry.
But like, I mean, those extra characters that they built almost the entire story around, and primarily Lex Luthor, and like him playing Batman and Superman off each other, completely unnecessary. They were probably going to fight anyway. And,
thank you, Steven. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you.
And on top of that, Lex Luthor is not even the bad guy. Like, oh, he creates the monster that comes out of the ship. But there was no need to have him do it. He could have been a bad guy for another movie, or I don't know. And that's why I say that this is Superman #2 or Man of Steel #2, because Lex Luthor and the Kryptonian monster that comes out of the ship, which I don't know the name of, those are the two bad guys. It's not a bad guy that Batman can fight. So why even bother? And why would Batman be tricked by Lex Luthor? Because Batman
is the greatest detective in the world.
Investigator. I don't understand. The greatest
detective in the mother effing world, and he can't figure out. He's like, why didn't I see this check that was bounced back before? Well, like, oh, I'm sorry, sir. We'll look into it right away. So how much longer do we have? We only have a half hour. We might need an hour for me to bitch about this movie. Like Steven, I love this movie. A lot of points I completely agree with. I watched it twice. Watched it the first time, thought it was okay. Watched it the second time, my score went down. there are just scenes in here. You can clearly tell there's a lot of scenes that were cut out. Zack Snyder's already said there is a 4-hour cut of this movie. 4-hour cut of this movie, and it shows that there were just that he was just trying to do too much in this movie. He did something similar to this. If you've ever saw The Watchmen, there's actually an ultimate version where basically it's like a 3.5-hour version of that movie, where he makes these movies where they're really, really long. And I know he made that 4-hour movie cut, and you could tell that there was a lot of parts that were cut out, and you just didn't feel like one of the things that would. I mean, the movie's called Batman vs Superman. I didn't really get the whole Superman's motivation for fighting. I mean, I understand they kind of teased it where his ideology, his ideologies differed from Batman, and that's enough for them to fight once again. But like you said, the whole throwing in Lex Luthor just make him to force him to be the bad guy. I just didn't feel compelled that they were fighting, because he ends up trying to like, hey Batman, can I help? No, help me. Like it felt stupid. It felt stupid, felt lazy. You could just call this Dawn of Justice. You didn't even need to call the Batman versus Superman part, because Batman versus Superman talked in the whole movie together to each other, maybe like 3 or 4 lines. And that's fine, but then like they have 2 different ideologies, and you should play into that. Instead, you understand completely Batman's reason why he wants to fight Superman completely, and they had to, because you did not explore Batman's character in the last movie. Like you said,
instead they utilized a very typical tool in the superhero universes, the damsel in distress, because of Superman's mom or Lois Lane. Like, there are much better reasons to get these 2 guys to fight.
Exactly. Understandable that this is Superman's weakness. Not only his kryptonite, it's also his connection to the people that he loves, right? That's what humanizes him. That's what makes him weak. And that's what he was playing on. I understand that. But you did not need that for them to fight. It's not necessary. It felt lazy. Like you said, it's just something that you've seen before. It's not something that's different. It's Batman versus Superman movie, guys, and it's supposed to be a clash of ideology, and that's all you need. You just need that. And the way they created Doomsday, my God, so silly. I'm fine with Zod becoming him, but the way they made him, basically the ship's like, oh, we have this hibernation chamber, we create evil people, but it's outlawed by the council, and then fucking Lex Luthor's like, oh, so where are the council? Oh, they're all dead. Well, yeah, then why don't we just make the bad guy anyway? I'm like, okay. I mean, here's
this 3D printer that you can make super realistic bad guys who could destroy your planet. How about you send this really, really crazy young kid who loves creating all sorts of mischief into there, so he can make a really bad thing that could kill you?
Have you seen the deleted scene that came out before we watched the movie? I told you about. It's basically called Communion, where it's a scene where they cut out where the cops are swarming that ship where Lex Luthor was in after the fight between Doomsday, and he's there, and you see him talking to one of Doomsday, I think not Doomsday, Darkseid's underlings. I forgot his name, to be honest with you. I am sorry, but like basically it's kind of a tease where he's saying TikTok during the scene after, where he meets Batman in the prison. It's kind of a tease like, oh, Darkseid's coming, evil's coming, because you see the teaser of the Omega symbol. You see Batman with his dreams. By the way, some of that Mad Max Batman scene, I love that scene when he was cracking people's necks. Awesome.
Yeah, that Destroyed Earth Batman was fantastic. They need to make a video game of that. We talked about this.
If they made the movie, all that, I would have been fine.
Batman running around with an M4, like gunning people down.
Oh my God, how awesome was that? And they just did too many things. They did so many storylines. They did the death of Superman storyline. Sorry, Superman dies, but they did the stupid lifting of the Earth. You knew he wasn't gonna die he's Superman. They just started, and they're gonna kill off Superman. It was a bold choice what they did, but they did not have to show that the dirt levitating. You knew he was gonna come back. That was just for the kids. It's kind of like telling you, like, hey, by the way, he's not really dead. they try to do too much in this movie, and it felt like it, and the results show. That's why critics hated it, and fanboys are not ecstatic with it. However, there are people that solemnly defend it and call people out. This is a topic I was gonna transition to, where they're saying that critics and all these people have an agenda against DC, where they're saying that, oh, all you people like Marvel movies, but these, and you guys don't like DC movies, you guys must be all DC haters. Where there's this internet kind of mentality where it's either you're a Marvel fanboy or you're a DC fanboy, but you can't be both. I think that's really silly, because why can't we just like comic book movies, or why can't we just like these movies in general, right?
Well, the internet is made up completely of people who are Sith, who deal in absolutes. So, and we all know how that
goes. But unlike the Sith, there's not only two. There's more. There's not always two.
Well, I mean, I'm considering the internet as a whole as Sith, I guess.
Yeah, I mean.
So what's the second one? I guess a local area network. I don't know.
I just think it's silly. I mean, we can all just enjoy good movie, and just because I liked it, I didn't love it, doesn't mean that you can't love the movie. I just don't understand, like, people like basically don't like something that they love. They feel like, oh, you're an asshole, or you're a piece of shit. I hate your parents.
I don't know. So I mean, there's two ways to look at a movie or any body of work, right? Yep. You can look at it individually as a single piece, or you can look at like what they're trying to do for the story as a whole. Like, do you look at Iron Man 2 and do you say, all right, Iron Man 2 was a good movie, but Iron Man 2 as part of the MCU doesn't fit? Things like that. Those kinds of analyses are better. I mean, I really like Batman versus Superman as a movie. Now, I don't know how many movies are going to be part of this entire movie set that they're going to develop out, but that's yet to be seen. But I do have some caveats with liking this movie, and the first one that comes to mind, and I brought it up already, is that there's just extraneous story and too much going on in this one movie. But the major thing that bothered me too, and this goes back to, hey, Batman fighting Superman and all he has is kryptonite grenades. But that's all he had in order to help Superman fight Doomsday. Like,
one canister left.
Couldn't you at least pick a bad guy if you're going to put them in the same movie together? Pick a bad guy that makes sense for both of them.
I cannot agree anymore, because Doomsday felt like more of like a Justice League kind of fight, as opposed to, instead of just them three. You could easily just have a movie based of him as the villain. You could have gone with, like, I agree, with someone else lesser, where Batman would have participated and he would have had that shine.
Or just like make it seem like Batman has more utility than, the others. Like, he's in the Batwing, but it gets shot down basically.
What are you talking about? I mean, he sent that wonderful email to Wonder Woman, which introduced the whole, unlocked the DCU basically, with Flash and Aquaman. And Aquaman's like,
I can't get. You know what? I didn't mind that, because
I minded that so much,
because like I said, I don't know how many movies are going to end up being part of this particular universe, but it gives me a good glimpse into what they might try and do. All right, now, did they do this in MCU? Hey, here's some files on a desk, and like,
Well, it's the way they introduced them. Where, think about it, they're trying to catch up with Marvel. They're trying to introduce their Avengers, and these are characters like Flash and Aquaman. They've never seen the light of a full feature film, and you have this $200 million budget movie, and the way you introduce them is by Wonder Woman opening a fucking email to people that are. You have to understand, not all people understand who these characters are. We know who they are, but Joe motherfucker doesn't know who that is, right? My girlfriend don't know who these characters are, and maybe that's also because of the fanboy talking within me. It felt like it was a disservice to introducing the characters.
I don't think so, because they introduced it as a natural progression as part of the story.
No, it did not.
And
I agree. Disagree. Sorry, but
so what do you want? You want them to show up in the movie and just start it there?
No, but it makes no sense. Why wouldn't?
I don't know how else are you going to introduce these characters and do them justice.
One easy way.
In Dawn of Justice.
One easy way. Remember when Batman went to go steal the kryptonite from Lex Luthor? Remember that part when he was stealing the kryptonite? He was stealing the files from Lex from Lex. Why couldn't Batman be the one showing all these things on his screen? Because Batman's the base detective. He's assembling the Justice League. Why can't he be the one that shows it? It just didn't. To me, it just didn't make sense. We agreed to disagree, but I felt that it was. You could have done it a better way. That's
when he's decoding the files, though. He does see it on his PC. You actually see part of it.
And then you could be the feature that. You don't need to set up this 5-second scenes when she's clicking through clips, or it just felt out of place. You could have made an easier progression by just having Batman show it. You don't need to him like, hey, by the way, is this picture of you?
She being one of them, and he knows that she's one of them, basically.
But you don't need her. This is
what Batman would do.
Yeah, for himself. He wouldn't be like, oh, by the way, hey, look at these clips that I found.
I don't know about that. I don't know about it. It was twofold in what he was doing. He was trying to find out more, and he was also trying to figure out like what her deal was. Like I don't know if he had another way to do it.
I'm sorry. I'm just rethinking some things.
So my thing here is I'm not sure you could do it any other way and really accomplish doing justice for these characters. I mean, you think about the way that Marvel did it. Yeah, you have to do the comparison. You don't, the way they did it in those movies was that they put Samuel L. Jackson at the end of all the damn movies. Was like, I'm building a team.
Yeah, I don't need you to make a full feature movie. It's just the way they introduced them. The thing with the Flash, I love the scene with the Flash. Like, did you know right off the bat that was the Flash when he was coming through that little portal with the helmet on, and he was in like,
I wasn't sure who that was.
Exactly. So you take away a little bit from the Flash. You don't know who he is, but then like comic book nerds like me, you know that the Flash breaks through multiple dimensions, he breaks through multiple timelines because he's the Flash. You didn't know that was the Flash, right? You didn't know who was telling him like, oh, Lois Lane's the key. So I don't know.
But you know what? It doesn't make sense to me because again, I'm not as deep of a comic book nerd as you are. Mm-hmm. But I know who the Flash is, just like everyone knows who Darth Vader is, or they know who Batman is. That's not something that you directly relate to the Flash when you see that happening.
Oh, I agree.
You expect the Flash to be fast, lightning fast. Maybe you don't see him, but like not come out of a portal in your bedroom, basically.
Yeah, we both agreed that where you don't know who he is, and that takes away a little bit from him coming into the scene, right? Because you don't know who that is. You just see some weirdo just come out of nowhere warning him. So I think we both have our own opinions. I think they could have done a better job with it. Yeah, we could be here all day arguing about this movie. Ultimately, I enjoyed it. If I could did a rating out of 10, it'd be a 6. To be honest with you,
I'd probably give it a 7. I think I enjoyed it enough as an action flick and good storytelling.
I don't know about that last part. I don't know about the last part.
Well, I mean, the story they had to tell was meh.
But I mean, it's not good storytelling if you're like the story that to tell. It's like, well, we have to.
It's like, but this is all we have to do. Like operationally, it was a functional movie, but the story that they had to tell was just
really? Really? A lot of movies that were considered functional movies. Spice World was considered a functional movie, but that was terrible. I like that movie too, by the way. Which is, it didn't matter. I used to like Spice Girl.
Well, it's like any '80s or early '90s action flick that includes Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger, they are all functional movies, but the
Yeah.
story is like, it's a bunch of people dying.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Other things that we need to cover that we missed. One of
you
them is
haven't watched them.
Deadpool, but I haven't seen it. I get a
Oh,
lot of flack about this too because apparently it was very good.
it might. So, all right. So speaking, because now that you probably might be overhyped because a lot of us, like a lot of our friends, basically have seen it. I've seen it twice, and when I went the opening night, it wasn't a packed house. I was very surprised. They were giving out posters. It was like more than half the place was empty. And after I watched the movie, and when I was watching the movie, this is probably one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. I laughed. It was funny. I couldn't stop laughing in the movie. It was so. I'm not a huge Deadpool fan. I don't know the Deadpool. I know the Deadpool character, but I'm not a huge fan. But I know he's very sarcastic. He breaks the fourth wall, and from knowing that, Ryan Reynolds does a great job of that. He's always had this ability to be. He always had this comedic timing, basically, where he's able to come up with things on the fly. And he was, to me, he was amazing, and he encapsulated everything that Deadpool is supposed to be. And I thought it was the movie. The movie is simple, to be honest with you. It's a love story. It's a revenge love story, but it's a love story. And there's just all these little things about this. And this movie, apparently, this script, they've had the script for over 8 years. And it took them that long. They've had these guys, no, they had the writers for 10 years. And it took them this long to finally for Fox to tell them, hey, you can make this movie, because they had that leak Deadpool footage. They leaked it. But yeah, they had this leaked Deadpool footage that all the fans raved about. And that's what gave them the ability to make the movie. And this movie's it's one of the top grossing R-rated movies of all time. A movie about a guy in a fucking red costume cursing and stuff like that.
I mean, that's probably playing off of the Marvel universe and like the superhero fandom kind of thing, and why it's such a high grossing movie.
I would disagree.
A lot of movies get into the box office and make that kind of money because they're not R-rated, right? Because they're like PG rated. In fact, like Pixar and Disney movies tend to be amongst the top grossing movies.
Yes, but like you said before,
in this instance, I think you're playing off of everyone who knows about the MCU, and there are probably even parents who probably took their kids to this movie not knowing that it was R-rated.
They regretted it too. I'm pretty sure they regretted it too. But I meant it as in terms of like it was an R-rated movie. Not a lot of R-rated movies make over $700 million. If you think about it, like R-rated movies typically they float around $300 million. If you've ever looked, like, because I pay attention to the box office and everything, they don't make that much money. I think the biggest movie that came out was R-rated and that made the most money was American Sniper. But that was one in a million kind of stuff, and it had the hype of the Oscar season. But this, I mean, and also Passion of the Christ was the other R-rated movie that made a lot of money. But yeah, it was. It made more money than Days of Future Past. Days of Future Past was a fantastic movie. I love that movie. And it had Hugh Jackman, it had Jennifer Lawrence, it had all these stars, and Deadpool made more money than that. And Deadpool was only $35 million to make, and X-Men cost $200 million to make, and Deadpool made more money. What a steal, right? I think it partially is also the marketing ploy that they did was brilliant. I don't know if you've ever had the time to look at them, you should check them out. Just him basically showing people how to check for prostate cancer, how to cough your balls, and how to feel yourself up for breast cancer. He has those public service announcement videos.
Interesting. Yeah, no, yeah. I never saw any of that. And
yeah,
I didn't fall into the hype of the movie, and I don't know if I did it purposefully, but I definitely told myself that I want to watch the movie, but I didn't want to go see it in a movie theater. Like I don't know if I was too lazy and I just didn't want to do it at the time. But then it moved from being lazy into, hey, you know what? I don't need to see it in a movie theater. I want to wait until after all this hype, because everyone that I talked to was like, "You have to see this movie. Throw everything away. Go!" And I don't know. I have a very tempered view of the movie, and now is a good time to go see it, because now everyone's over the hype. I can go and sit down. I can enjoy and relax and watch the movie, and have my own take on it.
You still have 2 other movies you need to watch, my friend: John Wick and Kingsman. Just to throw it out there, those are 2 movies you do need to see, and those are franchises that are coming out as well. They're building a franchise around both those movies. So yeah, definitely you have some homework, buddy.
Yeah, apparently John Wick, Keanu Reeves did some speed shooting. I don't know if you saw the little video clip of him on YouTube. He was doing like
I've seen it.
Yeah, pistol, rifle, and shotgun.
Yeah, I like that he was. You could tell obviously he takes everything very seriously. When he's gonna do a role, he's gonna go dive full in. I mean, I think I saw one of our friends who's actually a really good shooter and saying like, oh, he wasn't shooting that well. Well, dude, he's an actor. Calm down. Sorry, but like it's still pretty cool to see that he is that invested in the character that he can easily just pretend to shoot. Oh bang, oh bang. But he's actually going to learn how to shoot.
Well, what's interesting about this too is that he didn't pick this kind of thing up earlier when he was doing The Matrix or something like that.
Oh yeah, I agree, and yeah, because he didn't. Or
even Constantine, because he had like the cross gun. Or
yeah, I know. Yeah, he started doing this whole gung fu stuff recently, and honestly, it's good because this is the role that's basically bringing him back. Because when's the last time you heard of Keanu Reeves doing something that's good, right? Last thing was maybe The Matrix. I mean, the 2 sequels afterwards were not received very well, and he didn't do anything really good afterwards. He did Constantine. He did The Day the Earth Stood Still, I believe.
I think he got super typecasted.
Yeah, like. Ugh.
Well, no, I mean, not even that, but like the like silent hero type almost, or like in The Day the Earth Stood Still. I don't know if he's so much a hero as a villain, or
he was more quiet. He also did Ronin 47, where basically he because he actually knows how to fight. I think he's like he's knows some form of like martial arts or something like that. He did Ronin 47, which is basically not Last Samurai, but it was like Japanese. He was like a samurai and he has to fight. I don't know. It wasn't that good of a movie, so no one cared. But basically, long story short, John Wick.
300 for samurais. Is that what it is?
But yeah, John Wick was, and then this shows how good that role was for him and how good the movie is for his career. Because now there's talks of him doing Bill and Ted. There are talks of him being in the MCU. Like this rejuvenated his career, and I think it's great that he's diving head deep. And plus, Morpheus is going to show up in John Wick 2. So. See, Neo and Morpheus again on screen. In a way, they're gonna tease about that. There's no way they're not gonna tease about that between the 2, or a little Easter egg here.
Did you see The Martian?
Yes, I did.
Did you think it was funny, the Council of Elrond comment?
I don't know what that is. I'm sorry.
They were sitting in like a conference room and they were talking about ways to bring him back.
I know what you're talking about now. I didn't get the joke though.
Yeah, well, so I mean, the president guy or whatever was like, Council of Elrond. What are you talking about? And then Sean Bean was like, secret meeting, about taking the ring back to.
Yeah.
I like those.
I love
self-aware sort of little.
I wish because I didn't pay attention to that. I didn't really get that preference, but like. I thought it was a funny movie. They were like, it was a good movie, and it was funny at parts too as well. Even though this is not, we were gonna cover like the first quarter of 2016, but this is past. But still, we could talk about it. And I enjoyed that movie. It's not really.
What's interesting about this though, because we actually set out to go and do this podcast, this vodcast, this live streaming
to watch The Martian
in order to actually go and watch The Martian. So it's kind of cool to come back full circle into this sort of we're going to try and start streaming again. Let's talk about it.
we didn't watch it when it was coming out.
We didn't go and watch it together, but we started streaming anyway.
Yeah. And I think we probably haven't talked about it too much. I thought it was a fantastic movie. I didn't think it deserved to be in the best comedy category in the Golden Globes. I mean, it was funny. It was funny. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't best comedy funny. They just wanted the Golden Globes is a joke. Let's be honest. It's just a time where the celebrities get to be drunk and be stupid, and they wanted Ridley Scott there.
All right. So what else do we have from the last time? So I think the last one that we actually had a real discussion was Star Wars. What else in between? Game of Thrones, but you're not a Game of Thrones fan.
We could talk about it.
The new season started last weekend on Sunday. Mm-hmm. Cool, interesting. I anticipate more good things out of the show. That's all I'll say because I don't want to spoil anything.
Well, how do you feel about there's news where basically George R. R. Martin hasn't finished writing the books, but he's told basically the producers and everything the end game. Basically, he told them basically what's going to happen at the end, and that basically after the season, there's only like 13 episodes left. So how do you feel about that?
I'm okay with TV shows or movies departing from their written works. Mm-hmm. I think there's definitely everyone says that they want the movie to be exactly like the book. Hey, this wasn't how it was in the book. But you know what? To be honest, I think it's good that you don't have things that are directly replicated out of the previous media that they were in, because it gives you a reason to actually go and watch it, right? Mm-hmm. Otherwise, then it's like, oh, they replicated everything. I don't need to go see the movie because I read the book. It's interesting because that they kept up with the book before this point at least, but they're basically overrunning where he's writing the book at this point. But it's okay because anything that they did in the show anyway was slightly different or completely different from the way that it was written in the book, to my understanding, because I have not read any of the A Song of Fire and Ice storyline. So I'm okay with it, and I think most people should be, just because of the way that these things work.
I agree. I don't think they're gonna basically there's 2 points. This is where they are right now in the series, and this is where they are at the ending. And although the book, they're gonna probably go around and do other things, which is fine, as long as they're gonna get to where basically they're gonna respect George R. R. Martin and get to where he wants to go at the end. But I think, like you said, they're gonna take some liberties in terms of things that are not what it's gonna be in the book, if he ever finishes the book after he's done fucking that stripper over there after eating fried chicken. Sorry.
What?
he's a fat. He needs to write the book, man. I'm sorry. I understand you want your glory, but dude, just write the book, man.
Yeah. It'd be funny if he never actually finished writing the book. That'd be even funnier. That he got his payday and didn't even have to finish doing what he was doing.
Dude, he doesn't have to. If he doesn't have to. Just watch.
That's like all the, and we've talked about this all the time. It's like all those games on Steam that are early access, and you pay for it up front, and then they don't finish the game, or they make a shitty game, and they're like, we're done. But they already got your $40. That's why I don't buy early access games anymore. It's so stupid because the art's not done yet.
Oh god. Oh, speaking of games, this just came out. We're basically they casted Lara Croft. They casted who's going to be the next Lara Croft in the movie. I don't think you've seen the movie. I don't think you know who she is, but her name is Alicia Vikander. She was in the movie with Superman called what's it called? Something with Uncle. The Man Called Uncle.
Okay.
And she won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress, by the way. She was in this movie and also another movie you need to see as well, because you're just a sci-fi nerd and you have to watch Ex Machina. She's the star of Ex Machina. I
heard really good things about that movie.
There is a lot of philosophical things that you would appreciate a lot, Steven. This is something else I would talk to you about, because there's a lot of views in that movie that I think you watched it, you would love it. And it's the only movie where you can see Poe Dameron, aka Apocalypse, dance like an idiot. He's in the movie, by the way. And he's dancing in his.
You know, I remember seeing previews for it in the theater, and then I didn't hear anything about it when it came out. And then I heard all sorts of crazy stuff, people saying that this movie is fantastic in the months afterwards. I guess when it was like released digitally and stuff like that. But like I mean, I think that, you know, a movie like that, in that essence of like determining, I don't know, the relationship,
artificial intelligence,
the relationship between humans and artificial intelligence is something that's fantastic.
It is fantastic. She should have won her Oscar for that, as opposed to the other movie, which was I think the not transvestite one, the Danish girl. That movie was. I fell asleep in the movie.
I mean, there are people in real life like Elon Musk, who's CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, who like regularly says that AI is like the greatest threat to humanity. Like they're really afraid of Skynet.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Like in real life, like it's not even like a joke. Like, they go out of their way to fund robotics research because, you know, that's, you know, their thing, tech. But like they have like very close oversight to make sure that they don't do anything silly.
Oh my god, that's so creepy. Oh, another thing. Speaking of like, you know, people's like invading people's privacy. So I think we haven't. Well, no.
Donald Trump.
We can't talk about that. So a new trailer came out, and it's a franchise that we both like, and it's basically about post Snowden era, and that's the Jason Bourne trailer. So, and it's I was wondering, like, what was your feelings in terms of watching that trailer, and what are your hopes for the movie?
I did not see the most recent Bourne movie, which
Bourne Legacy,
which didn't include Jason Bourne apparently.
No, not a lot of people did, to be honest with you.
Well, did people enjoy Jeremy Renner as, you know, another agent in that universe? That was Jeremy Renner, right?
Yeah, it was. It was Hawkeye. I went to go watch the movie in the theaters too, and I enjoyed the movie. It felt a little bit like something was missing, because obviously this is the Bourne. It's called Bourne Legacy, right? So you're missing kind of like the main. It felt like he was overshadowed by Jason Bourne, and he wasn't even in the movie at all. So I liked it as a movie. It could have been just a good action movie if you didn't call it Bourne Legacy, and you didn't have to relate to all that stuff. If you just kept everything was in that without Jason Bourne, it would have been a fine movie, to be honest with you. It just did not need to be like that. It just didn't need the Bourne name, the Bourne stigma. And I understand they were trying to. I feel bad for Jeremy Renner, because he was supposed to carry the Bourne franchise, and he was also supposed to carry the Mission Impossible franchise. That's why he was in Mission Impossible 4, was that he was supposed to carry the mantle. But then basically he just didn't have that star appeal.
Well, I think a real problem with the way that movies are being done now is that they treat the transition to another major character as this thing that has to have this big pomp and circumstance that's associated with it. Like, the fact that, you know, Jeremy Renner is in a Jason Bourne movie, I think you could have done without calling it Jason Bourne, like you said, but still have him be part of the universe and just put that movie out, because people would figure it out, and it would be so much cooler to have to figure it out when you go see the movie. And you know, someone walks up to you, like somebody you know, and they're like, "Hey, did you see this movie with Jeremy Renner? Did you know that it's actually part of the Jason Bourne universe?" We're like, what? I gotta go see that movie now. Like, well, I think that revelation is much more fantastic than saying that's a Jason Bourne movie without Jason Bourne. I'm not gonna go see that. And that's what happened. You know, I was a really big fan of Jason Bourne movies. And then that movie came out. I'm like, Jeremy Renner.
Yeah, that's the problem with the studio, is that they really try to hang on that name, basically, right? They didn't.
But I mean, they do this with a lot of different franchises.
Oh, I agree completely. By the way, Ghostbusters,
Mission Impossible. They could have had Jeremy Renner do another movie and call it IMF, and everyone would have known that, hey, this takes place in the Mission Impossible universe, and then have a cameo with wow, I can't remember his name for some reason.
Wait, Tommy Cruise?
Yeah.
one of the most. Well, he's not the tallest movie star, but he's a big star.
But you know what I mean? Like, I think there's something about that revelation that you get as a viewer, and like making that transition. Like, oh my god, this is cool. It's part of the bigger universe. It's the same thing that made, and to go back to it because we talked about it in this episode, it's the same thing that makes watching after the credits in a Marvel movie and seeing Samuel L. Jackson be like, "I'm building a team." And you're like, whoa, this is something bigger than us.
The marketing, they're just trying to get people their seats. And they think, this is the bad thing, they think that we're all stupid, that we can't figure this out ourselves. I think that's why they felt like
like I said, you could have put out that movie with Jeremy Renner and had a different title on it, and then
Aaron
have people
Cross.
figure out that it was part of the universe.
They could have just called him Aaron Cross, which is the name of the character, and then they could have been like Link. And if you just throw little tidbits, nuggets in there, it would have been fine. I completely agree. They could have thrown little like about Treadstone in there. You're like, wait, Treadstone? I was like, I've heard that before.
Or just call the movie Treadstone.
Yeah, you could do that.
People would not have figured out immediately, oh, this is Treadstone from Jason Bourne. They would have been like, Treadstone. It's a weird name for an action flick. They go and watch it, and they see this guy, Aaron Cross. They're like, wait a minute. This is that Treadstone.
Exactly.
Like, I think there's value in that as a viewer, to be able to make those connections yourself and not have someone tell you in the title that, hey, this is a Jason Bourne movie.
That's just the studios thinking that they were stupid. Once again, the whole thing with Batman vs Superman, you don't need to tell them that Superman's coming back to life. That being said,
there are a lot of stupid people out there, so I'm sure.
Oh, I agree.
I'm sure there would have been plenty of people who didn't go see the movie.
Who's to say we're not idiots too? We're part of the idiot franchise.
Oh yeah, we're all idiots in some way or another. But like I feel like this is like one of those things where it's just like, come on, like I didn't go see the movie because you named it Jason Bourne.
I don't think we've talked about this either. Sorry about just doing all movies. This is what I'm good. This is what I like. But so another thing about another movie that's basically out, it's kind of in the same universe and people might not know what it's about. Rogue One. How did you feel about that trailer? I know that's, especially as a Star Wars fan and not being too deep into what Star Wars is doing right now. Just so, you as a fan.
I bring this up again. I am a core viewership. I like to see everything that's part of the universe, or at least try to. That's generally available. I don't go out of my way and read comic books or even the other media. I try and stay within the same media or even like other visual media. Rogue One is good. I like it. I kind of see a little bit darker of a tone, which is the way that they're going with a lot of different franchises now too. I'm a little bit apprehensive because of the things that they have to do to make the universe come to life again. And I say that when you look at the trailer, there's a section where you see stormtroopers and AT-ATs, and they look a little bit different than you and I remember from the 1970s movies.
Well,
and
remember,
this is a similar problem that happened when Star Trek came of age too. Like, hey, you have I think it was a 2000 series, the Enterprise. But that series takes place before Captain Kirk's time. And for some reason it looks fancy and you're trying to explain things utilizing
We're talking about the prequels of Star Wars, by the way, where everything was really clean and high tech. But continue on.
I think there are some issues with replicating what you had in the past and making sure that you're staying true to it. Because, of course, you want to make things look better, but ultimately you might make it different than canon, right? Because this is canon now. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'm worried about.
Canon. Yeah,
that's one thing I'm worried about. But I like the trailer.
Yeah. Yeah, I think whoever's in charge of Lucasfilms has already had that, realizes basically what was wrong with the prequels. And one of it was basically everything was really shiny and really high tech because George Lucas had the ability to do all this high tech stuff now. So basically it didn't make sense why, you know, in Return of the Jedi and all that stuff, like everything looks so low grade, and then like in the past, everything, which is the prequels, everything looks so nice, right? But I think they'll be fine. I think they learn from their mistake. The whole part what about like the different kind of like stormtroopers and stuff like that. Remember, if you rewatch them the movies in sequence, you didn't know like there were snow troopers in A New Hope. You didn't know that they have these forest troopers on the bikes in Return of the Jedi in A New Hope or Empire Strikes Back. So you can kind of reason out that they had different kinds of stormtrooper, different forms of uniforms, but we just never saw them, right?
That's true. I mean,
that's my way. I mean, it's their way of also trying to make this universe their own. I think this is actually legitimate. What they emphasize is this is considered a Star Wars movie. This is a universe. This is a time where what happens when there's no Jedis. Basically, what happens with those Jedis? What is there to do? You have all this person that rebels. By the way, I didn't like that line where she's just like, "Oh, is this a rebellion, right? So I rebel." I'm like, that's stupid. I'm so excited for the movie, but that's
Han Solo, female Han Solo.
Oh, is she with you? No, she with you.
I don't know. Trailer looked okay. It's good. Of course, I'm going to go see it. I mean,
I'm dragging your ass. Well, I'll buy the tickets. That's why. Yeah. I didn't talk about this last one, Star Trek trailer, because we didn't talk about this because this happened during the time when Star Wars opened. We never talked about the Star Trek trailer together.
No, I don't think we talked about this because because Justin Lin. We talked about the fact that Justin Lin set the trailer to what the hell is the name of the band? I can't remember the name of the band.
Oh, Sabotage.
Yeah. Beastie Boys. Set it to Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we talked about that. Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Continue. I'm sorry.
Trying to think of what else what happened in the first quarter of this year.
Sorry, I'm a movie savant, movie person, so that's a lot of it's gonna be movie stuff. I mean, unless you want to talk X-Men.
I think that's probably enough for today anyway.
Yeah.
Should probably just go over some like logistical kind of stuff. We're hoping to try and do this regularly again. But I think what we might do is something more informal like this quarterly, definitely. If we don't do this weekly. Next week, we're planning on building Alan's computer, which we had talked about in previous shows that he was planning on doing this. And we also broadcast last week the part buying for this PC build. So actually it was on Sunday, it wasn't even last week. So you could tune in next week. We'll probably be doing a live stream. If not a live stream, we'll post a video on YouTube of us actually doing the build, so you can see how to do that.
I ain't doing shit, man. I'm just gonna sit there. I ain't doing shit. I ain't shocking myself. I ain't need to ground myself. You ground yourself, man.
We'll figure out whether or not we're actually going to do a regularly scheduled Wednesday or Thursday show next week. Probably not, because we'll have this PC thing going on. But we're definitely going to want to talk about Civil War, because that happens next week. So we'll definitely have a show the following week.
Yeah, maybe we'll throw up a review. Just talk about just that one movie. We can just throw up a review. Yeah. We don't have to make
so we have some content coming, and we have been filming the
behind you.
No.
When you're finished.
He's almost done. Love you.
We have been filming the wow, I can't remember the name of it. Pandemic Legacy game, which we are behind now, aren't we?
No, we're not. It's April. We will be,
because we still need to play the April game.
We will be, unless we do it on Saturday. Unless we save Martha.
It's not going to happen, basically.
Unless we save everyone from Martha.
But I have been shooting the video for that. It needs to get cut, and then I could post the videos to YouTube.
Yeah, one thing to do, Steven. That's
I mean, there's definitely content in the pipeline. We've just been sort of lazy the past couple months.
It's just life. Let's be real. It's just life.
Got a lot of different stuff going on, and we've just not had it in us to put together notes for a show every week. But we'll again, for the next 2 weeks, we'll have some content for you guys. All 0 of you guys, because we have no viewers right now.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll have some stuff, me and Alan, to do. And then
Mm-hmm.
we'll be able to put together a show again. Maybe start doing some news and entertainment and tech and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, in a couple weeks. But that's pretty much it. Oh, quick news, because it's coming up. This Saturday is International Tabletop Day, and we are celebrating by playing a bunch of board games. This is something that's put together by Geek and Sundry, which is part of the reason why I started trying to get Alan to do a podcast or a vodcast after watching Tabletop, which is put out by them. And Tabletop's getting a new season. They're shooting it now. Hopefully we'll have episodes this coming summer. But yeah, I just wanted to put out a little shout out for International Tabletop Day on Saturday, April 30th, which I'll be hosting something here at my house for anyone who's invited on the Facebook event. You know where and when. And Alan, you better be there. I know you responded with
120. Well, yeah, 123 Fake Street. Got it.
Well, if you watched last week's episode, you might see Alan's address in there. I think
my credit card information.
I think I tried to cut it out, but it's still processing for some reason. So we'll see what happens.
Whoops.
I think that's enough for tonight's episode, especially since we've already been over an hour at this point. So
yeah, I need to take a shit too. Sorry, we're still on
dinner too. That was my father, by the way. Yeah, I still live at home. Go eat it.
We hope to.
Thanks, internet.
Don't be a dick squeeze, man. Don't be a dick squeeze. Don't
all right,
squeeze
so,
dicks.
Alan, any last comments?
Don't squeeze dicks. That's all I gotta say.
All right, we're signing off. I'm Steve Chin. That's Alan Wan. We will see you probably next week for the PC build.
Or not. Bye.